a man from another world, is accidentally killed and reincarnated by the goddess of reincarnation. He wakes up in a forest with a menu detailing his new life, stats, and the world he's now in. He discovers he's a summoner and decides to head to the nearby town to register as an adventurer. Upon arriving in the town of Parth, Kelvin shares the story of how Melfina became the goddess of reincarnation and his companion. He reveals that he gave up his previous life memories for more skill points. He attempts to summon Melfina, but fails due to inadequate MP level. Kelvin registers at the Adventurers Guild, where he learns about the guild's ranking system. To avoid attention, he registers as a green mage instead of a summoner. Afterward, he buys a wooden rod and heads out to hunt blue slimes. Kelvin battles blue slimes using his wooden rod and his appraisal eye skill. After a tough fight, he manages to make a contract with a slime, naming it Clotho. With Clotho's help, he defeats the remaining slimes and earns some gold. On his way back to town, Kelvin encounters a slave trader. A half-blooded elf catches his eye, but he doesn't act on it. The next day, Kelvin goes on a monster hunting spree with Clotho. He gets promoted to E rank at the Adventurers Guild and is advised to upgrade his equipment before taking on higher-ranked missions. Kelvin decides to take on a D rank quest, the Black Ghost Knight quest. A D rank adventurer named Cashel suggests that Kelvin join his party for the Black Ghost Knight quest. Kelvin declines, and instead proposes a competition to see who can defeat the Black Ghost Knight first. Cashel reluctantly accepts. Kelvin uses his appraisal eye to learn Cashel's stats and plans his strategy for defeating the Black Ghost Knight. Meanwhile, Cashel regroups with his party members, Jamil and Raj. As dusk falls, Cashel's group reaches the Wicked Spirit's castle. They find the bodies of undead skeletons scattered across the floor. Kelvin comes out of hiding, ready to face the challenges ahead. Kelvin confronts Cashel's group in the castle. He taunts them, leading to a fight where Kelvin uses his Mudvine trap and Clotho, who has evolved into a slime gluttony, to defeat them. Kelvin enters the room where the Black Ghost Knight, Gerard, is. After a civil conversation and a duel, Kelvin manages to defeat Gerard with Clotho's help. After he defeats him, they made a contract. The next day, Kelvin turns in the quest and learns that Cashel's group will be executed for their crimes. He is then promoted by the guildmaster, Leo, who wants to befriend him knowing he's met otherworlders in the past. Leo explains about the heroes of the Holy Empire, Daramus, and the foretold revival of the Demon Lord. He asks Kelvin to protect the town instead of the heroes, which Kelvin agrees to. Kelvin goes to the alleyway where slaves are being sold and purchases a half-elf named Ethel, who is cursed to burn anyone who touches her. He breaks her curse using an A-rank white magic spell, Sacred Bless. A month after purchasing Ethel, Kelvin and his group explore the dark purple forest to level up Ethel and help her gain new skills and abilities. They successfully subjugate a monster and report it to the guild. Kelvin, Ethel, and Gerard complete another successful quest. They learn that one more successful quest will allow them to take the rank-up exam, which could promote Kelvin to rank A and Ethel to rank B. In the Holy Empire of Daramus, Priestess Colette receives an oracle from Melfina, instructing the heroes to exterminate an evil in the Western continent and to stay away from Parth. Kelvin reviews the stats of the hero party and is content with the new staff he created from a monster material drop. He also creates a dreadnought shield and crimson cape for Gerard, and Ethel creates a sage's black robe for Kelvin. Kelvin, Ethel, and Gerard visit the Hermit's Cave dungeon, where they find a demon woman chained to a monolith and another demon, archdemon Victor. Victor reveals his plans to become the next demon lord. Victor attacks Kelvin's group, but they manage to fight back. Despite Victor's powerful magic, Kelvin, Ethel, and Gerard manage to overwhelm him. Victor concedes defeat, but reveals that he was entrusted with protecting the chained demon woman, Sarah, by the Demon King. Kelvin breaks the seal on Sarah, who wakes up and terranches Victor and her father for their selfishness. She joins Kelvin's party, and they head back to Parth. Kelvin subjugates the demon in the dungeon, elevating him to rank A in the guild. He also tames Sarah as one of his tamed monsters. On their way to Taraj, the group encounters the Black Wind Gang. Sarah single-handedly defeats the gang members, and they capture the bandits. The group reaches Taraj and turns in the captured bandits at the Adventurers Guild. They learn that the Black Wind Gang is involved in slave trading. The heroes of Daramus arrive in Taraj and learn about the bandit situation. They want to help, but are advised against getting involved. Kelvin's party arrives at the bandits' base just in time to save a slave girl named Ruka. They take out the bandits and go after the bandit leader, Kristoff. Kelvin confronts Kristoff, but tells him they're not there to fight, but to prepare for the main course. Meanwhile, the heroes of Darmus reach the bandits' hideout and meet Clotho. The heroes of Darmus confront Kelvin's group, accusing them of being the Black Wind. Kelvin proposes a game where he'll face off against them all, and the winner has their wish fulfilled. Kelvin plans to have the heroes testify against Kristoff and his gang if he wins. On the other side, Toya chastises Kelvin, suspecting him of being associated with the infamous Black Wind bandit group known for their wicked actions. The battle begins in an open area. The heroes call upon their individual fairies' blessings and attack Kelvin, who manages to hold them off using various spells and skills. Despite their efforts, Kelvin manages to immobilize and take out the heroes one by one. Upon awakening, Toya is told the truth about Kelvin and his group. He apologizes to Kelvin and promises to follow up with his side of the bargain. The next day, the heroes of Daramus are shown struggling against a giant octopus in a cave. Despite Kelvin's advice, they continue to struggle. After finally managing to defeat the monster, they take a break for a picnic. Kelvin and his group see off the heroes of Daramus as they take a boat ride to their next destination. He gives each of them a pendant as a going-away present. Kelvin's group meets with Queen Subjugating of Taraj, who thanks them for dealing with the Black Wind bandits and the S-rank dragon. As a reward, Kelvin asks for the right to purchase land. Despite Subjugating's attempts to entice him to stay in Taraj, Kelvin decides to return to Parth. Kelvin's group uses Taraj's teleportation gate to return. Back in Parth, Kelvin and his group purchase a house. They hire Luca and her mother as house servants. Melfina returns to Kelvin in an avatar body and bestows upon him a blessing that prevents him from receiving a fatal wound once a month and the ability to summon heroes. Afterwards, Sarah and Melfina spar against each other while Kelvin contemplates his new hero summoning ability. Later, Melfina explains to Kelvin about the importance of heroes and the unique skill of the Demon King. Kelvin decides to summon a hero through a reincarnation summoning process. The summoned hero, Ryo, thanks Kelvin for summoning her and collapses due to exhaustion. When she wakes up, she asks to join his adventurer party, and Kelvin accepts. Kelvin allows Ryo to frolic around the dark purple forest with a clone of Clotho. He tames a shadow wolf and introduces it to the group. They are then approached by Erd's party, who inform them of their plans to slay monsters in the area for a chance to be promoted to B rank. Back at home, Kelvin learns from Sarah that 14 assassins have surrounded the mansion. Deciding that fighting against the intruders will be a perfect test for Ryo, Kelvin has her fight against them. Once the intruders are defeated, Kelvin has Clotho clean up the area. Meanwhile, at Tryson Castle, Emperor Zeld holds a meeting with his generals and children regarding the recent exposure of their cooperation with Kristoff and his slave trading ring. Despite differing opinions, they decide to go to war, believing the weak nation's military forces are weak compared to theirs. Kelvin's group rushes to an elven village in the Crest Forest, located southwest of Gon. They discuss the task at hand to defend an elven village from an S-rank monster, which Kelvin believes is linked to Tryson. They are stopped by a group of elven archers, but Kelvin clears up the situation, and the village elder Melrose appears before them and greets them. In the elven village, Norris explains the elven village's past when they were settled in the western continent. He tells the story of how the fire dragon demanded that the elf who had humiliated him come forward, or he would burn the village to the ground. Suddenly, the village is attacked by monsters led by a commander from Tryson. The commander and his soldiers are taken out one by one by Ethel and Kelvin. A huge lord appears, and Ryo and Alex take it down, but it changes into its true form, the Furnace Lord. Ryo manages to defeat it. After a while, General Clive and his soldiers attack the village. Clive demands that Ethel become his slave, but Kelvin retaliates. During their fight, Kelvin discovers that Clive is also a reincarnated individual. Despite Clive's powerful attacks and defensive barriers, Kelvin manages to break through and injure Clive. General Phase appears and teleports Clive away. He introduces himself and claims victory, but Kelvin considers it a tie. Back at Tryson Castle, Clive is tortured as an experiment for cursed weapons. Back at the village, they celebrate their victory. Ethel shows Kelvin a medallion that once belonged to her mother, and he attaches it to her hair. Ethel requests to serve Kelvin for life, and he accepts. A little elf girl who turns out to be King Leonhard of Gon in disguise joins them. He informs Kelvin that he passed his rank exam and his official promotion ceremony will be held in 4 days. King Leonhard announces that Kelvin's official promotion ceremony will feature mock battles with other S-rank individuals. The news excites Kelvin, who can't wait to face off against more strong opponents.